just tuned in and were introducing themselves, we're like, oh, we got to go back on the air. Um, so when we left off, we were talking about the King Alfred plan, which we're going to post onto. I think we already did, but we're going to post onto the ReadYO Radio Facebook page. And if you're not, haven't liked that page, um, it's not too late to get your life together and like the page. And we'll have it's a lot of information that's on there. So, where did we leave off? We were talking. I was listing.
Orders.
I was listing the executive orders, and specifically the executive orders that, and then I wanted us to go into like some of them that directly apply. I mean, all of them apply because they're about to build up, but some of them that directly apply, like Executive Order 13603 that we've talked about before, which is the control of the resources, control of water, control of the utilities. Let me pull it back up. That allows them to control and basically take over access to things that are private property or are public property. And so, and it's very similar. People in Detroit know very well that it's very similar to what happens to in a when you have an emergency manager. That there's public assets and private assets, and public assets are transferred into private hands to for
bills.
to pay fictitious debt. So anyway, back on topic. Where I left off was listing some of the executive orders, and so we want you to look these executive orders up so that you know that this isn't just. I mean, we see it playing out when we know that it's not a game, but this is a plan that's put in place. Executive Order 11,000, and that means there's 11,000 executive orders at this point. Think about that, and think about what an executive order is. The ability to say, without the approval of, correct me if I'm wrong, without the approval of Congress or any other body, the president can just issue an executive order, and in that office, in that capacity, he's basically giving being a dictator at that point, saying, this is something that's so important that we have to have it right now, and we're not going to deal with the democracy right at this point or republic. We're just going to say that this needs to happen. I need to be able to search all homes at any given time if I feel like it's an emergency.
To veggie back real quick, it's actually a interview where Obama was on the Daily Show with Jon Stewart, and I don't watch TV, but somebody posted it, and basically Jon Stewart was he said that your term is almost over, like it's almost time for your presidency to be up, and he was like, so your plan to take away everybody's guns and your plan to lock everybody up in FEMA camps, it's coming to an end. Like, the time limit is coming to an end for you to do that. And he was like, oh, well, I better hurry up then. And it's like, and people started laughing, but it's like, it's true. Like, I mean, that's nothing to play with. For you to be in involuntary servitude, basically in a concentration camp, and they laughing and joking about it on national TV.
Exactly, and that's how they threw it in our faces. Executive Order 11,001, Federal Takeover of All Health, Education, and Welfare. 102, 1002, 11002, Postmaster General empowered to register every man, woman, and child in the USA. Seizure of all aircraft and airports by the federal government. Housing and Finance Authority may shift population from one locality to another. Complete integration. Seizure of all railroads, inland waterways, and storage facilities. This goes on, and all of this again is in the King Alfred plan, and this is a plan that was geared towards black people. to round up all the black people at that time that were in the United States, and now it's been updated to for Hispanics and other minority groups. So the plan, the government, I'm trying to get out of saying the government and its agencies, the alphabet soup agencies, have been preparing for civil unrest for a very long time. It's people's job to just think of scenarios, and they get paid and funded to prepare for those scenarios. So that's something to think about as we're thinking about what is a state of emergency and what are some of the signs of states of emergency. You see these policies put in place, and then you see them being updated, not to reduce their power, but to increase their power. Mm-hmm. And you see this, I mean, you can go on and on. We can have a whole show on executive orders, especially things like the Patriot Act. You know, so, but I don't want to take up any more time with that because it's a long list.
I want to give a slightly different perspective. Part of what's going on again is so mental that sometimes looking at these executive orders and thinking about, oh, did they declare a state of emergency? Like, it takes our power away too much. Where we're in my opinion, we're in a state of emergency always. Like, when I'm from Detroit, I go to Detroit right now. I'm in Detroit right now. It looks like a state of emergency. You know, when they brought crack to our neighborhoods, that was a state of emergency. And it's just that if you how you define life and how you, again, we said earlier, what words are we saying? What is what we're saying? What does it mean? And so we're in a constant state of emergency because at any given time we see right now that police can pull you over, shoot you, and just get paid leave of absence. And so if that's not a state of emergency, I don't know what is a state of emergency. And so I say it again, I said earlier, it's going to have to get a lot worse and it gets better because obviously it's not sinking in mentally yet.
Mm-hmm. Well, to just touch on 2 points that you said. One about the police being able to basically kill without impunity. I looked up the statistics for conviction rates of civilians versus police, and police they get convicted less than one third of the time. Well, they get prosecuted on less than 1/3 of convictions, whereas civilians they get prosecuted on over 2/3 of convictions. So it's like, basically it's about half of the civilian rate that the police get prosecuted on. And another thing I wanted to touch on, how you said things will have to get a lot worse. And so when you say that, I think of the religious mind. So religious people, they're waiting on some type of savior to come back and save them, right? And so if you look at what happened during slavery and slave times and, all of the graphic details of slavery, and if that Messiah didn't come back to save them in slavery, that means whatever is going to happen for that savior to come back has to be worse than what happened during slavery. So we have to think, are we mentally, physically, and spiritually prepared to go through something worse than slavery? And that happened, from the 1600s up until 1865. Slavery was legal. And so are we prepared for that? And if not, then we need to do some reevaluating.
I thought we said earlier slavery's still going on.
Right. I mean, you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Like if this King Alfred plan was implemented, are you prepared? Yeah, are you prepared to go through that for 200, 300 years before your so-called Messiah comes to rescue you? And if not, then you need to reevaluate the religious institution that you are a part of and the religious doctrine that you follow, because anything that tells you to wait on an external savior gives away your power.
Yeah. Well, I can't even give it that much credit. It offers an opportunity for you to give up your power. No one can take your power away. It's something that's voluntarily given. And period. And one of the things that we wanted to talk about as well was to be able to see how this is playing out nationally, like these sister cities, if you will. You know, the Boston,